York's classic rock. Q1043.
Welcome back. Jonathan Clark in the studio with Kip Winger. How are you, man?
I'm over here. How's it
Yeah,
going?
there he
Hey,
is.
what's
Yeah.
up?
Grammy nominee, sold millions of albums with Winger, top 40 radio hits. Also played bass for and recorded with Alice Cooper, Bob Dylan, Roger Daltrey, among many, many others. So welcome, my friend. It's
Great to see you again.
been a few years. In full disclosure, the last time I saw you, you were our musical instructor at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp here in New York City. I was sort of an embed or journalist covering that for Q1043. And that was so much fun. I believe the songs we did were U2's Vertigo, and then we
I love that song.
right, and
Oh
then
my
we
God, so
and then we
much fun to
did
play.
Gavin DeGraw's "Da-no, no, 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 no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't wanna be," something like that. But that was so much fun. Was that fun for you?
I love it. Rock Camp is a blast, and the network is amazing in there. I mean, look at we go. How many years has it been? 5 years.
Right.
And we have a smile on our face when we're thinking about it because it was so much fun.
It's
right?
so much
It was just a
fun,
blast.
right? And we get you as an instructor,
Yeah.
and you were very good at that.
I appreciate it. Well, I come from a long line of teachers, so I enjoy teaching. I still teach and selective people, but in that scenario, it's a blast because I grew up in a band with my brothers, so it's like
Right, and that was in Denver, Colorado.
yeah.
Yeah, I went to school in Boulder actually.
Oh, you did,
and I survived.
Boulder's amazing. Please.
But just to go back to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp for a second, so we rehearsed with you. We worked through these songs for 3 or 4 days, and we got to play at BB King's in Times Square with you playing with us.
Yeah, that was a blast.
And then our last rehearsal, where they're running through the songs again just to nail them all down, and then in walks Roger Daltrey, which everyone's jaws are on the floor. And you had worked with Roger, obviously, so you know him.
It doesn't matter how many times you work with Roger Daltrey. Every time he walks in the room, you turn into fanboy. I mean,
big time.
Yeah, it's huge.
And we got to do a Can't Explain, which is a memory I will never forget. And you were in Nashville now? Do I have that
Yes,
right? You're in Nashville now. Do you ever see Dave Mustaine? It seems like everybody is down in Nashville now.
It's funny that you're saying he lives there because I didn't actually know that. And
He's got a place there. He's got a place in California and there too.
Right.
Actually,
so we have a lot of friends in common, and we've never crossed paths. Although I was in Starbucks, and I saw Jack White and said, "Hey man, if you need a bass player."
Third Man Records. Yeah, they got a whole thing going down there.
There's so many talented people in Nashville. It's really like become it's kind of like the new Seattle when Seattle was big.
Right, yeah.
It really is. It's very thriving. It's all kinds of different music is thriving there, from rock to obviously country. But there's a lot of pop, a lot of rock, and the classical scene is huge there. So
well, it used to be with Nashville that, and a friend of mine moved down there. Several friends of mine moved down there. Not recently, like 10 or more years ago, and they're like, dude, you can get a castle for like nothing.
Man,
3 acres and a lake.
I moved there 16 years ago, man. So, yeah, I mean, it's been you can't do that anymore.
No, because everyone's there now.
Yeah.
And you had a funny quote about Winger at one point. You said Winger was like the dream theater of hair metal bands. Did you say that?
Possibly. Because we were always going for. I grew up on prog rock, so I always wanted to put, and I loved Kiss, so I wanted to put a band together that was like progressive, but had the showbiz element to it, and kind of marry the two.
Right, because
Dream Theater is much more progressive than we are, but
well, yeah, but Winger is not a band that's. Winger's still out there touring, and you're still doing stuff with Winger.
Yeah.
But people were always like, wow, look, those guys in Winger, they're not just playing like 3-chord, silly like hair metal songs. You know what I mean?
Right. So under the hood, when you look under the hood on our songs, they're pretty difficult to play, and you don't see a lot of like bar bands playing our stuff because it's not so simple.
Yeah. And who knew that you were this classical music guru? I didn't know this, but it's like you were training, I guess, in high school or something?
No.
Like even earlier? Or?
No, it's strange. I did a little piano lessons when I was a kid, but it's all because I studied ballet, honestly. When I was 18 or so, and I heard all this classical music, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's that?"
Yeah.
And so
Was there one composer that really sort of like got you into it, or?
probably Debussy,
Uh-huh.
which is classic impressionistic here, and then you go from Debussy to Ravel, and beyond that, I could just bore you with all the details.
Well,
but
we immediately think Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, but those weren't the ones that really sort of,
no,
yeah.
so it's everybody before 1900 for me. I wasn't so into. It's all after that when the harmony got very complex and
Yeah.
interesting, and. In that time, I studied some classical guitar and got into Baroque music, and then I was really into Yes and Jethro Tull and this
Steve
kind of stuff.
Howe.
Right. So that kind of I felt like there was a that path is where I wanted to go, and then the more I listened and got into it, the more I started hearing it. So
Yeah.
it wasn't it wasn't until I was 35 until I went back to university and
And that's like last year, right?
yeah, I wish. I really went back and learned it at 35. I studied with 4 really formidable composition teachers. And
This story is amazing to me. You were a teenager. You heard Alan Parsons on the radio, I'm assuming, in Denver or wherever you were, and then you actually sent him a demo tape?
I did. I sent him, and he wrote me back.
And he wrote you back?
Yeah, that's
a
funny.
handwritten letter?
He
It wasn't
did.
an email back then, right?
No, man, he sent me a postcard, and I still have it. Actually, no, I sent him a self-addressed stamped envelope, and he put he wrote on a postcard and emailed me back.
Wow.
And then I got in his band.
30 years later, there you are in his band.
And I showed him the letter.
And he freaked out.
It was great. I didn't have my phone. Didn't take a picture of his face, but it was amazing.
Yeah. So Alan Parsons, was he the one that brought you to the dark side of rock and roll to sort of switch up your career to? Yeah, I know it was Kiss. You mentioned Kiss and prog rock, but was that the moment where you're sort of like, wait, let me try this sort of thing?
Well, I mean, I was always an Alan Parsons fan. I had no idea that I would ever even meet him and sing in his band and stuff. But that came much later. So, I made it through Alice Cooper and then Winger and kind of just started studying and kind of writing pieces in my closet, and then finally, got the courage up to publish some of my classical music.
So tell us about Get Jack. This is really cool. It's a musical thriller. That's how it's been described.
Yeah. So I collaborated with a guy named Damian Gray, who wrote the lyrics in the book. And about 3 years ago, more like 5 years ago, I was wanting to write a bigger piece, like an opera or a musical. And I met a few mutual friends. He introduced me to Damian, and I met Damian on Skype. We totally hit it off. And he had this idea about the women that Jack the Ripper killed. Nobody knows them, right? So we've written this. We call it a musical thriller because it's sung through like Les Mis, so it's not a typical musical. It's almost like an opera, but it's kind of falling in between.
Musical thriller / rock opera.
Yeah, kind of like that. So, and five lead women singers, 3 males, and we immortalize the women in this, and they go back to get.
What a great idea!
They go back to get vengeance on Jack, and the devil wants his soul. So
wow,
we're really happy with it. We've spent 2.5 years on it. We're doing our first pop-up reading at SIR here in New York, which is where I cut my teeth and got my first record deal, by the way.
Right, yeah.
And on Monday the 30th.
Monday the 30th, there are 2 shows, right? 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock at SIR Studios on West 25th Street,
basically
here in Manhattan.
Exactly.
Is the goal to eventually move that to, say, off Broadway and then Broadway, or?
Yeah. This is the early stages, and so we've written the piece, and we are making a concept record. So this is how Andrew Lloyd Webber did Jesus Christ Superstar. He made the album first, if you remember.
Oh wow.
So Ian Gillan from Deep Purple played Jesus on the album, right?
Oh man, so great.
And so we're kind of going in that format. We're gonna do this kind of a stand-up sung-through reading at SIR, and then we're going to immediately go in the studio and record all the vocals.
So what's that like for you as a writer and as a composer? I know with classical music you write for multiple instruments.
Yeah.
But this is you're writing for singers actually, right? I mean,
right. So it's fully orchestrated for an orchestra, and I'll be doing the orchestra in Prague in January. So and it's also got rock band stuff. You've heard some of the rock band stuff,
yes,
right? So it was thrilling for me because I've written several symphonic works, but now I've added vocals to it, which it didn't even dawn on me, to be honest with you, that like, wait a minute, I've been writing songs, so like writing for singers came totally naturally, and it's really fun to have 8 singers to write for rather than just me, all right, and then some backgrounds, So we
you still got the scream, Kip. I'm telling you,
thanks.
man, kills it.
I keep working on that because I never want to be like, what happened to that dude?
Right? Yeah.
Anyway, so it's been thrilling, and Damien's a great collaborator, and we've, we like what we've done. You never know with these kind of things. A Broadway show type thing is a heavy lift, and it's
the concept is really appealing. I think, though, the point of view of the women.
Yeah.
Because
Jack can you name one of the women?
I cannot.
Right. So so we feel that it's important to reinsert them back into history, and we bring their point of view. And it's very factual. We stuck really to the facts, so the ripperologists won't go, well, that's not actually what happened.
It's the first time I've heard that, ripperologist.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. So,
yeah.
So and I played Loud Park with Winger 2 weeks ago in Tokyo, and Alice Cooper was on the bill, and it was funny because he said, "How's Get Jack?" And I was like, "What? You know about Get Jack?" And I said, you know what, Alice? I could not have done this if I had not been in your band. And
wow.
That's really true.
Yeah.
So I really need to give my great mentor, Alice Cooper, some credit for that, because he just being in his band and kind of getting into all those songs and the point of view of those songs really gave me a lot of kind of tools in my work to build this show.
And it's sort of related theme-wise. I mean, Alice Cooper and then Get Jack.
Yeah,
what is the
shock rock?
Yeah, what's the website that people can go to, or is there a Facebook page?
Yep, Get Jack Rock Opera on Facebook, and getjack.com. It's all out there, and please go like the page because we're gaining fans as we go.
Yeah. And exclusive performances October 30th, 2 p.m., 7 p.m. at SIR Studios in Manhattan on West 25th Street. Getting back to New York City, you lived here for a while. Even like where we are right now, you kind of lived in Tribeca.
I did. After we kind of, quote, made it, I bought a place in Tribeca right down the street.
Yeah.
And in 91. But before that, I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey, and also in the city some of the time for about 9 years.
Yeah. And this is the birthplace of Winger, actually,
It
right?
is, totally. It totally is. And Reb and I both had waiter jobs while we were, recording. And we met in the studio at 62nd Broadway. There was Atlantic Studios.
Right, yeah. It's no longer there, I don't think.
Right. So we met there, and we did some work on other records while we were waiting tables. Then I got the gig in Alice, and Reb became like session guy. He played a lot of records. And when I got off the road with Alice, him and I got together and recorded all of our demos at 28th and Park. And Atlantic Records signed us in 88.
Wow.
88.
Speaking of Alice, have you, so you must know the great Shep Gordon?
Of course.
Have you had dinner at his house in Maui?
I've only been to Hawaii to play Honolulu. I need to go, but I talked to Shep the other day.
He is the best.
He's incredible.
And I'm just going to embarrass you now. Your classical works have been commissioned and performed by many: the Colorado Symphony Orchestra, Nashville Symphony, San Francisco Ballet Orchestra, the Sun River Music Festival in Oregon, Tucson Symphony Orchestra, and this is amazing, the Thessaloniki State Symphony Orchestra in Greece.
Yeah.
Now, did you go there for that?
Of course. I mean,
my God.
I'll cancel Winger gigs if I get a classical thing because it's so rare and it's such a heavy lift to get a symphonic orchestra to actually do your music.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of moving parts and it's very difficult to get it. And so there's no way that I won't be in the seat at least for one performance. So
speaking of Winger, the band is still touring.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's, what is it? It's December something. You're playing at the Space at Westbury here and around New York City. I think it's December 10th, unless you get a classical gig in,
Exactly.
Australia or something like that.
Like I say, we just played Tokyo, and we're always on the road. Now, the interesting thing about my band is two things. One, we still really dig hanging out with each other. We have a blast.
That's amazing.
It is. It is amazing. And
it's what, 30? I mean, how many years you guys been doing this?
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah. So, and we just really go out because we have so much fun. Reb is now the longest surviving member in Whitesnake. So he's with the great David Coverdale in up at the studio writing a new record with them. John Roth is in Starship. Rod Morgenstein is now putting together an original lineup of the Dregs for
You're kidding.
Right, for a tour coming in, I believe, March and April. So watch out for that. It's it's the very first lineup of the Dregs.
Dixie Dregs, whatever, Dregs.
Yeah,
Dixie Dregs,
very exclusive tour. And so that they haven't played for 40 some odd years.
Yeah, yeah.
And so everybody in our band has a lot of other projects, and then we get together just because we dig playing with each other. When I'm playing Headed for Heartbreak and looking over at Reb Beach, I'm like pinching myself because the guy's, he's just incredible.
He's a monster.
Incredible. And same for Rod and John. And
yeah.
Paul, our original keyboard player, plays with us a lot as well.
So new Winger album maybe sometime? You don't have time. Jeez.
I'm very busy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility because we have a great time. I mean, Reb Beach, my band's very funny, so I just want to get together with those guys so I can laugh away my woes because I'm known as the Archie Bunker of rock. It's like I'm the one with the pessimistic attitude.
His name is Kip Winger. His new musical going to be, what do you call that, previews, I guess? Is in previews or
it's like
something?
a sung-through reading.
Sung-through reading, yeah, and it's at SIR. It's called Get Jack the Musical, or is it Get... How do you say it? Just Get
musical
Jack?
Thriller, Get Jack.
Musical. Find him on Facebook. Find the website, and look for that to be on Broadway soon. From my lips to God's ears, right? So it's Kip Winger. Thank you so much for stopping by today.
Man, thank you very much for having me. It's a great honor to be
Best
here.
of luck, and come back here anytime.
Thank you.
Bring Reb the next time.
I will. I will do that because we'd love to do that.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.